All right. We'll now call the Westfield Board of Public Works and Safety meeting to order. Would the clerk recognize the presence of a quorum?
Barb Kinnick.
Here.
Chuck Lehman.
Present. Here.
We do have a quorum.
Perfect. We have one change to the agenda. We'll add as action item number 11 agreement for services for CB Walls Inc. To paint city services, because I don't want to do that on a volunteer basis myself. Do we need to approve the change to the agenda? I don't think so, right?
You can just announce it as the
Okay.
chair. Yep.
And so now we'll have an election, board president and vice president. Do we have a nomination for board president?
Yes, I will make a motion that we appoint Nick Barbnick for our president of the board.
Perfect. And I guess I'll second.
Good for you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, and I'll move that we make Chuck vice president of the board.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And we have our officers. Action item number 1, the approval of the minutes. I've read the minutes. Can I approve just both of the minutes from the special meeting and the other one?
I would take them one at a time, just for the record, if you don't mind.
Deal. So the approval of the minutes from the December 18th meeting, I'll make a motion to approve them as submitted. Do we have a second?
I will second the motion.
Made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Make a motion to approve the minutes from the January 13th meeting. Do we have a second?
I will second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Minutes are approved for both meetings. Action item number 3, Lockmuller and City of Westfield Construction Inspection Services Contract.
Yeah, for the record, John Nail, Director of Public Works. Before you is a proposal from Lockmiller Group for construction inspection services for the City of Westfield. Specifically, I want to call out one of the Lockmiller Group employees, Dave Lancet, who we've worked with quite a bit. He was our inspector on 161st and Union roundabout. He's a phenomenal inspector. We are contracting with Lockmiller for his services in 2025 to help out with some inspection. We expect a heavy construction season, and we will rely on Lock Group to provide those inspection services, specifically on 161st and Spring Mill roundabout, which will begin this spring. And then that project should be wrapping up in the July timeframe. This contract is actually for the full year, so we will likely have Lockmiller on another project to be determined depending on some utility relocation scheduling. The total amount is $440,000, so we've reviewed this proposal. It is in line with our expectations for market rates for this type of work, and we would ask the board to approve this proposal, and we will move into a contract, a formal contract with Lockmiller once approved.
And this is mostly the 161st and Spring Mill, and maybe another project, and that's about it? It's
for the full year's worth. We know for a fact 161st and Spring Mill will be one of the projects that Lockmiller will be inspecting. And then there will be an additional project towards the back half of the year that they will also be inspecting. But it's a little dependent on some utility relocation work on which project specifically it'll be.
Perfect. That was the one question I had, because as it was submitted, I understand what it was for specifically beyond construction inspection.
Yeah, and this is not to exceed, so we'll work with Lock Group. They'll bill for what they charge hours-wise on those projects, and then work to stay under budget. And if for some reason we need to supplement the contract, we certainly can do that in a later date.
Perfect. Chuck, do you have any questions?
But initially, it's not to exceed.
That's correct.
Got it. Okay.
This makes sense to me. Do we have a motion to approve?
I'll motion to approve the contract for Lockmuller.
Perfect. I'll second. Motion made and seconded. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Contract's approved. On to number 4, A&F Engineering, City of Westfield, another on-call contract for 2025.
Yeah, we do this essentially every year with A&F Engineering. It is a 2025 on-call contract, not to exceed $20,000. A&F is an engineering firm in Indianapolis. We utilize them for a variety of things, but a lot of it's traffic related, specific traffic counts, traffic studies, maybe some spot work on an intersection improvement or design. It's really gives us, our engineering department, the flexibility to provide a task order to them for quick hitting kind of items that we need their expertise on. I think this is probably, this is probably the 5th or 6th year in a row we've had this contract. If we don't use the money, we just, we don't use it, but it's there in case we need it. And again, not to exceed $20,000.
Makes sense to me. Chuck, do you have any questions on this one?
No questions on this one.
All right.
I will make a motion that we approve contracts with A&F Engineering and the City of Westfield.
And I'll second. Motion made and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion, on-call contract is approved. JS Held and the City of Westfield, action item number 5, the Union Square Garage Consultant Services Agreement with Economic Development.
Matthew Deck, Director of Facilities and Events, here to answer any questions you have with regards to the continuation of this agreement.
Yeah, so update us on the project and why, what the continuation's for.
Sure. So the Union Square parking garage is still scheduled to come online in June of this year. And the original agreement with JS Held, who has been wonderful to work with, they've provided a great deal of expertise with regards to everything involving Westfield's first parking garage. And I believe the original agreement was set to expire, I believe, in September, and they have extended it through August of next year. They are helping to verify costs that are given to us. They're helping us develop the operating agreement with Old Town for the garage, signage standards. They helped us verify that the pool that is going in over the garage had appropriate waterproofing. They're helping us develop the maintenance plan with regards to making sure that the garage is taken care of after completion. So they've been tremendous to work with, and we're excited to continue that relationship through close to the end of, well, at least through the completion of the garage and a few months after that.
Perfect. And just one question that occurred to me that doesn't matter that much for this. How do you guys decide whether it goes through managed by Economic Development or Public Works? Is it because this is a P3? Is that the reason? Or
With regards to who is managing the garage, with regards to it being my department?
Yeah.
I think we did just determine that it's a facility.
Okay.
And so along
It's a
with the
city
other,
facility, okay.
it's a city facility, so that's why it falls under my purview.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Chuck, anything for you?
Just on a catch-up or to fill in, on this garage, isn't this about 300 spaces?
It is.
Okay. And bring me up to speed. Is that a city garage or is that a part of private?
It'll be a city garage.
Did we pay for that?
We are in conjunction with Old Town, the agreement for the entire structure, but we are taking responsibility for the garage portion.
Gotcha. So, yep, that's our incentive or whatever. Okay. Cool. And have we used, I think you said, we've used this same company before, right, these services?
Our Director of Economic Development used them quite a bit in her old job in the city of Carmel.
This is their first project here, though?
It is.
Cool. All right. I have no other questions.
All right.
Go ahead.
I'll make a motion to approve the consultant services agreement with JS Held in the City of Westfield for Union Square Garage owner's rep services.
I'll second the motion.
Motion's made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion's passes. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah. Action item number 6, Public Queue Software and City of Westfield Stormwater Billing Print and Mail.
Yeah, again, John Nail, Director of Public Works. We have historically used Huntington, the bank, financial firm, for some of our printing and mailing services for stormwater billing specifically. We use a company called Springbrook for our actual stormwater billing portion. And after we were doing some additional research, Huntington had some changes to their print and mail product. We looked at some other options just to see what was out there and realized this public software company is actually a company within Springbrook. So there is some advantages based on just communication and efficiencies between these two companies, and some of their software links up nicely. But more importantly, we are looking to move to this public software because it saves us money. So we are going to save about $20,000 annually in mail and print services by making this change. The initial contract before you is for $2,250. That is to get our initial template set up within their system. We have some standardized billing forms that they have to get set up in their system. And once those are set up, we will be moving to them for print and mail services. Again, the headline here is thanks to Gina Gubaki, who's our billing manager in Stormwater, for kind of taking the reins on this and finding some substantial cost savings to the city. And we would just ask for board approval to move to this company for print and mail.
That's awesome. That makes sense to me.
Makes sense. Doesn't need to be bid or anything, it's just a department decision, right?
Correct.
Perfect.
Perfect. Well, I'll move to approve the contract for print and mail services as submitted. Do we have a second?
I will second that.
Motion's made and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Action item number 6 is approved. Community Crossings Matching Grant Program. It looks like half of our paving for the year almost.
For the record, Michael Pierce, City Engineer, Public Works. So this is the draft contract of the Community Crossings Matching Grant contract with NDOT. As you may recall, we applied for Community Crossings grant back in July of last year, notified in November that we were awarded the money. So the total award is $1,474,531, of which we would supply a matching grant to that. So that's almost half. Actually, we have additional budget above and beyond that we'll utilize on resurfacing. But this contract is basically just with NDOT to say that we'll accept the money and follow the rules that NDOT lays out for using those funds. So a final contract will be sent once we bid our project. This is a draft just for approval, and so that final draft of that will be sent once our project's bid out.
I saw Kathy McCallop sign the letter. Is she still LPA director? She was there when I was in that 12 years ago. No, this makes sense to me. It's a great program the state puts out and helps a ton. Any questions from you, Chuck?
No questions. I'll make a motion that we approve Resolution 25-100.
I'll second. Motion's made and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Action item number 7 is approved. Thank you so much. You're probably talking about the resurfacing project for 25, though, too.
Correct. Along that same vein, this is a signing authority for the resurfacing program in 2025, of which the funds that we just discussed would be included in that. Total budget, $3,320,000 is what we have on there. We'll be opening formal bids on that contract on February 14th. Running it through as a signing authority now because there is a fairly quick turnaround from when we open the bids to actually getting the contract executed. So rather than bringing this back to Board of Public Works, just want to get the signing authority so John can sign those in advance of that. So just ask for your approval on that.
Perfect. Well, and there, I think there was a list of streets in the community crossings 1, 2, so that's a lot of paving to be done. Makes sense to me. Chuck, anything from you?
No.
All right. I'll make a motion to approve for the signing authority for the 2025 resurfacing project. Do we have a second?
A second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Action item number 8, the resurfacing project signing authority is approved. And then we got one more for you. Calumet Civil Contractors in the city of Westfield, 181st and Wheeler Roundabout project.
Yes, so before you use goods and services contract with Calumet for a long-awaited roundabout project at 181st and Wheeler Road. So we opened bids on this on December 19th. We had 5 total bids on that contract. The engineer's estimate on that contract was just slightly over $2 million. Our low bid came in with Calumet at $1.386 million. So some substantial savings from what we anticipated on that project, which is great. So this is using some state exchange dollars on this program, so we do have some funding outside through NDOT on this project at an 80-20 split. But we'd ask that you approve this contract so we can move forward with construction on this. This will be in construction during the summer of 2025. So we have to construct this while school's out because it's a main bus route for that area, but hopefully we'll be in construction in this in 25.
Perfect. And you need to get any additional right away because all the stuff, the vet and the Y are probably so new that.
Correct. Yeah. A lot of those projects donated right away in accordance with our UDO when they came in. So we were able to design the entire project within the limits of our existing right away.
Perfect. Makes sense to me. Chuck, any questions from you?
What do we know about Calumet?
I do know that before my time here, they had worked on a couple projects within Westfield. They're a reputable contractor that does a lot of this scope of work within Indiana. I don't know them personally, but
So we're comfortable.
yeah.
Sounds good.
All right. I'll make a motion to approve contract with Calumet Civil Contractors for the roundabout at 181st and Wheeler. Do we have a second?
I will second that.
Motion's made and seconded. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye. And do it quickly.
Contract's approved. Agree.
Long awaited.
Number 10, intergovernmental transfer to the 120 Camilla Court to one of the city commissions. I forget which one.
RDC.
Thank you.
Yeah, I can talk a little bit.
Jonathan, can you pull that up?
Yeah, there it is. Thanks. So I can talk a little bit about this one. The board has seen a few resolutions like that last year. As you know, the statute requires governmental entities to adopt identical resolutions to transfer property to one another. As you said, this one deals with the property at 120 Camilla Court, and it's currently occupied by Four Finger Distillery. Previously, the city owned the property, but it had a lease that ran through the DWA, and it was managed by them. That is not effective as of December 31st, so there have been some internal discussions regarding the city not managing this lease and transferring it to the RDC. The RDC has already passed a resolution accepting this. If you all pass this resolution today, it would be effective. And then after transfer, the RDC and or the CDC will likely continue to follow appropriate processes to lease this building out and make some revenue. And Matt Deck is here as well. If you have any questions for either of us, we're happy to answer those.
Perfect. So this allows you to, the RDC to collect some revenue and manage it better
Yes.
for the city.
Yes.
Perfect. Makes sense to me. Chuck, any questions from you on this one?
No questions. I will make a motion to adopt this for the Camellia Court project.
And I will second. Motion made and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Now we need to set a meeting for the Westfield Police Department members to elect 2 merit commission members. Resolution 25-101.
the second is to set a date for the election of the merit commissioners by the active officer, which is required by the statute. I'm happy to answer any questions you have, but that's what this resolution entails, those two postings that have to be in place so that the merit commissioners can be appointed by March 1st.
Thank you. I know you went over this with council, but, and in your report too, but could you just touch briefly on what having a merit board allows you guys to do?
Yeah, so having a merit commission, basically you're going to establish that three areas of the department will be covered by that civilian merit commission. First, they'll oversee the hiring process, they'll oversee the disciplinary process, and the promotional process. Traditionally, I think we're the last agency in this county of our size not to have a merit system. I spent 26 years in an agency that had always had a merit system. So this is really just kind of
Professionalizing.
professionalizing the department, moving us forward. It's nothing but I see but a benefit as we go forward to go ahead and have a merit system in place.
Perfect. Anything from you, Chuck?
No, and I hate to admit it, I didn't realize that we didn't have one, so.
Well, I'd like to make a motion to approve the resolution as submitted to set a date for the Westfield Police Department Merit Commissioners.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now we have the consent agenda. We've got a policy manual update.
There's one addition to the agenda.
Nope, sorry. Let me go back. Number 12. I wrote it down here. CB Walls, Inc., City Services Painting, because I don't want to paint.
Right, you don't know paint. For the record, Danielle Carey Tolan with City of Westfield. Before you, there is a service agreement. We are remodeling a little bit of the current city services building and moving some people around and adding more offices because we are busting at the seam and there's no light in sight right now for a new city hall. Hopefully maybe in 5, 6, 7 years, we might see one, but in the
Maybe
time
after
being.
the police department.
No, no, we're not moving into their building and then move out. There's other issues with that one. So this is just a paint of the entire city services building. Actually, the bids, we did get 3 bids. This bid is the most conducive to our timeline and was kind of the best suited for our job and came in way below our anticipated price. So
How many bids did y'all get?
3.
Perfect.
Yep.
Makes sense to me. Any questions from you, Chuck, on this one?
Not really, other than, did I miss it? Tell me what we're doing. I mean,
we're
obviously making space for more
Yes.
people.
Right, this is just the paint bid, so this is just painting in all the offices, all the hallways, all the meeting rooms.
Everything, though.
Yes, this is the entire city services building. Currently, we have, with the remodel, we have added new offices. We only have about 55 offices, and we have about 113 people that work out of this building. So we are doubled and tripled up in many offices. So with that, we're kind of reconfiguring where people are going within the building. So we're moving where community development is in the basement. We're moving them up to the main floor, and then moving people that are in and out of the city services building a lot, like IT, parks, and facilities and events. They're going down into the basement, and then keeping the administration and economic development and comms up on the second level.
Yep, but this kind of finishes off the remodel.
Yes,
Painting comes nearly last.
nearly last.
Cool.
Then the
Love it.
furniture, but the furniture is below
Right.
bid, and we don't have to come before you
Right,
on that one.
Cool.
When you're done painting, it's over.
Okay, thank you.
I mean, right?
Yeah.
That's what you're doing.
Yes.
Cool.
Well, this
Yep,
sounds
much
great.
needed.
I'll make a motion to approve the CB Walls, Inc. City Services Painting proposal submitted. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Now on to the consent agenda. We have a 2025 policy manual update, fringe benefits policy for section 1222. And we don't normally discuss the consent agenda, but if you want to briefly cover this update.
For the record, Brady Laux, Director of HR. My apologies, I'm going to keep my coat on. It's a little chilly. 2025 policy manual update really had to do with our fringe benefits policy as well as the vehicle driver policy. Just had some minor changes to that. Prior to the fringe benefits policy stated every way in which a vehicle could be taxed or deducted. That we now have narrowed it down to commuter benefit policy as well as those cents per mile that do have driving privileges for personal use. So that was just really, it's kind of some minor changes regarding to be in compliance with the IRS.
Perfect. Makes sense to me. Any questions from you on this one, Chuck? Nope. All right. I'll make a motion to approve policy manual update as submitted. Do we have a second?
Second?
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Assume the January bond information as submitted has been reviewed. Do we have a motion to approve the bond information?
Make a motion to approve the January bond as presented.
Perfect. I will second. Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Bond passes. Now we are on to department reports. Fire department.
Good afternoon, Rob Gaylor, Westfield Fire Department. What we have here is our end of the year Board of Public Works, just kind of a highlight or recap of some of the things that took place in 2024 from the fire department's perspective. We were just under 5,000 911 calls for service. You add in the contacts that our social worker Jamie had, and our community paramedicine work. We're well over 5,000 calls. We're in the range of 5,500 plus contacts. Break that down, just 911 calls, there was 3,210 medical calls, and then the rest of them were fire-related. You can see we averaged 13.6 responses per day. The average turnout time was 80 seconds. So from our standpoint, the way that works is the call comes in, the tones go off in the building till the firefighters get on the apparatus and leave the building responding on the call. So that average covers all hours of the day and all call types. We didn't differentiate what we would call a priority call versus an assistance call. So when you look at it like that, that's really, I think, pretty good. We're under a minute and a half to get out the door for everything. In doing so, we had 11,000 apparatus responses. So throughout the year, a fire truck, an ambulance was on the road, emergent, 11,000 times in the city. So when you put that into perspective, that's a lot for our little agency. Station 81 had just under 2,000 calls, Station 82 right at 1,400, and Station 3 at a little over 1,600 calls for service. And then I think one of the things that I'm really proud of our folks, in the incidents that required or had property damage last year in a city as a whole, we lost $728,000, which is a large number. But of those properties that were being affected by the damage, the value of them was $12.8 million. So our percent save rate is over 94%. So I think when you put things into perspective, that is really pretty good for really dealing with catastrophe like the fire department deals with. So the folks did a really good job last year. This is just a synopsis of over the last 3 years, kind of what we look like. Nothing really glaring or standing out there. The ups and the downs from year to year is us adding things to the fleet, doing some redistricting and moving some things around. So what you're going to see in 25 is really a trend line or a baseline, becoming more distinct as we add to the fleet and add firefighters and personnel to the ranks. So what do we run on? The current national incident fire reporting system, it breaks it down into the series. You see the 300 and the 600, on and on and on. And so in the 300 series, those are our medical calls, and then anything else, whether it's a good intent call would be a public assist. We're going to go help somebody. They're locked out of their vehicle or locked out of their house, or they've got a water problem, something like that. Clear down to a weather event or an explosion or a fire, things like that is how these are categorized. This is very typical and very common. We're actually less below the national trend when it comes to EMS versus fire calls. That national trend is 69 to 70%, and we're at 65% medical calls. So I really feel that we're heading in the right direction with our public education efforts and community paramedicine things that we're doing here in the community, and bringing Jamie, our social worker, on board has really been a benefit. I think that's really been the key to driving our EMS responses down, because those 500 contacts that Jamie has had would have been 500 more 911 runs that we had responded on, and she's
Cheaper.
well, she's really a benefit in helping the community needs.
Yeah.
The resources that the social workers have that bring to people in our community that maybe they're falling a lot, slips, trips, falls, things like that, can get that person some care through her channels, and really it's at no cost to the city or the department. So cutting down on the run load is really a goal that we're trying to do. The next couple slides, again, I'm not just going to throw data at you, but this is showing how many times that we have received aid or given aid to some other municipalities or our neighbors. This chart specifically has to deal with EMS. We just give it a quick, solid glance. You can see that we're actually playing nice with our neighbors and giving them more aid than we're receiving. And you're going to see the same thing or similar things when it comes to the fire piece here. Really pretty even when you look at it. We've got a couple outliers, but nothing against them. There's some smaller agencies that don't have all of the resources, and when it comes to a major event, they reach out for assistance, just like we do when we're tied up and busy. Our care facility runs, I know it's been a hot topic over the last several months, and just a snapshot where we ended up for the year, where we went, how many times we went there. And we added this chart in to actually take a look at why are we being called to those facilities. So a sick person is the general catch-all bucket, if you will, on why we're going to our care facilities. Falls being number 2, breathing problems followed by a laceration or hemorrhage. Lift assist calls down towards the bottom percentile. 21 times last year we were actually called for a lift assist. So we're starting to target and dissect the information that we're getting so we can really focus in on educating those facilities and what constitutes an emergent 911 run and what constitutes another means or mechanism to help them with whatever's going on.
Are all of those facilities similarly sized, same number of beds?
No, they're not. And actually, I can give you the bed count, but no.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
because you could give the one with the highest calls a prize
right.
at the end of every year.
Westfield Park Villages and Sanders Glen, 2 different facilities, different means, different bed count, different skill set, or treatment area rather is probably a better term for the folks that attend those facilities. Copper Trace and Bridgewater are the largest 2 facilities, and you can see that that's where we're going most of the time. very common for us that when we're forecasting having another one of these facilities come into the community, that for every bed that they have in there, that is typically a call for service that we can speculate on having. So in a sense, a 120-bed facility is going to equate to 120 runs a year, is the rule of thumb, if you will. But that's not always the case. We do have some repeat calls and things like that, but we're really diving into this and taking a look because overall, when you look at our total call volume and everything that we're doing and compare that to the care facility calls, it equates to 16% of our workload is going to these facilities. When we look at it as just our EMS runs, it equates to almost a quarter. 24% of our medical runs are to these facilities. So we're really targeting in on educating these folks and maybe they need to seek some help through some other avenues or some things like that. And so we're working on that to help them along with the process. And the other thing, I just got to call out the Public Works folks and the street folks. We had a fire Monday evening. It started about kickoff of the game. And I think I was done, left about 1:30 in the morning. So we called on some folks from across town to come over and help us with some trucks and trailers and backhoes and some things like that to help us make the building safer for us to get in and work, putting out some hot spots and some things like that. But I really want to thank John and Justin and his teammates that come over to help with that. They had other things that I'm sure they wanted to do on Monday evening.
We only called out the Ohio State fans.
Is that what you did? I'm all about that. Put them to work. Yeah, it was a team effort, and Chief Keene and the police officers that were there. I know we had your drone operator busy, and Caden was flying for us, so we had real-time imagery from up top, so we could identify the hot spots. We were dealing with power lines and stuff like that, so we couldn't efficiently use our aerial device. So having that drone and those folks out there was really a blessing and really an assistance on that fire scene. So,
Where was the fire?
511 East Main Street is right here.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
A couple of properties east of Field Brewing.
Yep.
Wow. Okay.
Happy to answer any questions if you have any.
No questions here, just welcome as you guys continue to work on the care facilities issue. If there's anything we can do to help you, let us know.
Sure. Thank you.
I do have a question. It's not a concern, but it's a big number, the care facilities. So you're making, we're making multiple runs a day.
Mm-hmm.
When you add all those up, it's like,
We have, currently we have 6 facilities, and a couple of them are adding on. And that's a lot, Westfield is a community that is bringing in parents and grandparents that want to watch their younger kids and grandchildren play at Grand Park, and with that comes, ailments along with aging, and those people need care, and they end up in a care facility. And calls for service, yeah, it's very common for us to do 2 or 3 a day to a variety of facilities that we have.
In last year's meetings, we discussed with the chief the education work they've been doing with these facilities to prevent the preventable calls.
that was my next question.
Yeah.
So you're making, hundreds of calls to these, like, I'm just using Copper Trace, for example.
Sure.
So they've got 220, you made 220 calls. That's a lot.
Yes.
How many of those not were critical, but how many of those could be maybe mitigated?
I will say a percentage, just guesstimating right now, I would say 25 to 30% of those calls are truly calls that they could probably hand through another means other than calling 911.
And that's a concern as we continue to add
Yes.
those facilities. I mean,
Yeah.
you know,
It's a multifaceted problem, and it is not just concentrated here in Westfield. This is systemic across the country, and a lot of it stems from insurance companies. When Mrs. Smith falls out of the bed and ends up on the floor, and the facility's insurance company says, man, it's a liability and a risk, don't you pick them up. You call 911 and get them here. That way, if they're injured, they can treat the injury and take care of them. So we run into a lot of that, and so through education, and regularly scheduled meetings with these facilities, because there's a lot of turnover on a very reoccurring basis in these facilities. As long as we stay on top of it and they know, listen, this constitutes a 911 and this constitutes your liability and your risk, hire the staff to take care of your people. And so that's where we're at.
a fascinating data. These numbers show that even though we may be, I mean, we need an additional station. We need more staffing, but we're still helping others more than they're helping us.
I think that says a lot about the
That's a
community
big
here in
deal.
Westfield, right?
That's a big deal. Do you see, Chief, do you see any potential changes or anything changing to the north due to what just happened up there?
So what I would say about our folks there in Adams Township and Sheridan is the Sheridan Fire Department has covered Adams Township as a whole since the beginning. So their coverage, their capabilities hasn't changed because they consolidated. I will say if they can figure out their financing and get things going up there, and if they add a station, that more than likely we could see a decrease. I don't know what's going on up there. It's not any of really my concern. But if they can, find some dollars and take care of their folks and build,
That's all.
that'll really help.
My question was to
Yeah.
the point where you're not concerned that our calls are going to go up necessarily.
Yeah, I don't see
Good.
them
Good enough. Enough said.
changing much. And I equate it to, this is the classic Carmel-Westfield conversation, right? Westfield is 20 years behind Carmel, right? When we were at two stations, who are we relying on? We're relying on Carmel, Noblesville to come in and help us out.
Right.
And that's exactly the spot that we're finding ourselves in when we're dealing with Sheridan. And dealing with Sheridan's a harsh term, but they don't have a ladder company. They're going to call for the closest ladder to help them out. And at the end of the day, there are people on the Westfield Fire Department that live in Sheridan. And there are family members from people here in the community that live in Sheridan. So, yes, we are going to another community, but we're still taking care of our own in any way, means that we can.
Right. And we're seeing more growth to the north.
Yep.
Just anyway.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Cool.
If you want to make a certificate for best improved care facility, that you award it every year.
That's something we could do and recognize them for doing well.
Yeah,
Yeah. Thank you, gentlemen.
thank you. Moving on to police department reports.
Mr. President, members of the board, Sean Keene, Chief Westfield Police Department. I provided you 3 documents today, which is something that I typically do in January, and I'll give you a brief explanation why I do that. You have your traditional report, our year-end report here, that covers the calls for service in December. I'm just going to briefly touch upon, highlight, we ended the year with 45,300 calls for service. This is just the monthly here, but our totals for the year, you'll find those numbers in the other reports that I provided you with the progress on projects and goals. I'm not going to go through all these because you can see some of these are 14 to 18 pages apiece. I provided them for 2 reasons. Number one, at year's end, what I like to do is recap everything that we got accomplished in the previous year. So I like to share that with this board specifically because a lot of those accomplishments are intertwined with things that you did for us, whether that's hiring people at the last minute and being able to get them on the agenda so that we can get those approved, or having contracts approved that allowed us to get equipment that we needed to operate. So I'm going to thank you for that, and I included that so that you could see the impact of some of your decisions and what they've meant for our accomplishments throughout last year. Again, it's lengthy. Obviously, I'm not going to go over everything, and feel free to look at it at any time. The second thing I provided you is our goals and objectives for 2025. I have 25 specific goals in 25 with 109 accompanying objectives to achieve those goals. So I provide you those, so you can see the direction of the police department, but also as we come before you in the coming year, well, this year now, and we have questions or we're needing contracts approved, you can see where our goals align, where we're going, the direction we're going, and you have a better insight into what we're doing throughout the year. That's the reason that I provided you both those documents. Again, I know that they're lengthy, but hopefully they give you a pretty good idea of what we were able to accomplish last year and the direction we're going this year. Now, within the next 60 days, I hope to put out a 5-year strategic plan. I'm waiting for we're getting ready to get some public input on that, and I want to go through a process where we get that to add to that. But right now, this is the direction with the specific goals and objectives for 2025, the areas that we're focusing on. And I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. I know that's a lot of paperwork I gave you, a lot of documents, but I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have about any of it.
I really like the goals documents because they give me a better snapshot as someone who's not living it day to day like you are, of where you're going and where you're coming from. That was really helpful. Thank you for taking the time to put that together.
Absolutely. Thank you.
It was really exciting, really a good deal to see the new staff, the officers that you had standing down here the other night.
Yeah, well, we're very excited to have those 7
Excited
additional
to have
officers. Yeah.
7 new guys.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
And it was really, I don't know whether it was good for us, but did I hear that all of those were officers? They were.
Yes, we ran a lateral-only hiring process this time, and that was because we were mandated to do that. Because, as you knew, as we just talked about, January 1, we had the merit system come in place. So that put us in a position, we had new slots for the coming year with our new budget, but if we had waited until after January 1, we wouldn't have been able to hire those officers until probably late summer because of the process of establishing the merit board, creating local rules, and them starting a hiring process on their own. So that was our goal, and that's why I talked about this board helped us with that, get those hires so that we're fully staffed going into the year, and that allowed the merit board the time to get established and start the next process for the next time we need officers. So, yeah, it's a big benefit to us as far as training, because none of these officers now have to go to the academy. They're going through the FTO program, but we hope by early spring to have them all out on the road, which will allow each of our shifts to go up to a minimum of 11 officers on each shift, which is the most we've ever had. So it puts us in a really good position to incorporate some of the goals that I talked about achieving throughout the year. We're going to start with those officers and that personnel right from the start.
Did we borrow those from some other places?
A few other places, yes, sir.
Are we challenged with that ourselves?
All law enforcement is challenged right now throughout the country, without a doubt. I mean, I was hired on almost 28 years ago in an agency where there was 350 applicants for a handful of jobs, and now most agencies are lucky to get enough applicants to fill. You look at Indianapolis and places like that where there are hundreds of officers short. Without a doubt, we're doing pretty well. We have a good program here. We're going to work throughout the year to increase how we attract and sell ourselves to candidates. But there's a lot less fortunate departments out there than us as far as getting officers right now, without a doubt.
I think that the public, I don't know if they're aware of that or not, but it's a big factor. It's another kind of little star for our community that we're able to attract the talent that we need.
Absolutely, and we're going to do everything we can to continue to be in that position.
Cool. Good.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Appreciate
Thank you.
it.
Thanks for your service.
Thank you.
Moving on to Public Works.
Yeah, not too much. I know I'd asked the board in December to do a little snow dance. You guys didn't do a good enough dance for us. We had quite a bit of snow to remove in early January, but guys got the job done. Proud of their work and their efforts on that. I'm sure there'll be another event or two before we get through winter. Like I mentioned before, we're gearing up for a pretty big construction season in 2025. We will be opening or receiving RFPs for the 181st and Wheeler Roundabout construction inspection. We received some federal grant money, actually state grant money, for 80% of the cost of that construction inspection on that project. Obviously very pleased with the engineering department and the savings that they found. We had very favorable bids on that roundabout project, as Michael mentioned earlier. And then we have a letting for 151st and Town Roundabout on February 12th. So hopeful that our streak of good letting results continues there. And we have our 2025 resurfacing letting on February 14th. So a couple of big lettings coming up we're excited about, and we'll roll that right into construction season. That's all I had for you guys right now, but happy to answer any questions you may have.
No questions for me. We went over a lot of those things in the meeting today, I think.
Absolutely.
Anything from you, Chuck?
I'm good.
All right. I heard about I forget who even told me, but through all the snow, countless examples of public works employees assisting on things that are above and beyond their job, driveways and countless other things. And so it's good to hear about that from time to time.
Always happy to help.
Anything else that we forgot on the agenda? All right. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion that we adjourn.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.